So I'm Brad Power, Director of Programs with Municipalities, Newfoundland and Labrador. It's a real pleasure to be up here as a follow-up to our original launch of this program, or the launch of the development of the program back in 2019. I'm joined today with Judy Dobson, who's the Director of Customized and Continuous Learning with the College of the North Atlantic. So I'm going to start off the presentation and give a quick run through of what we've been up to and what we're launching today. Then Judy's going to get up and talk through the actual program and add some information around what the CNA does in terms of continuous learning. And then in a matter of a couple of minutes after that, I'm going to go down and actually operate the website to show you what our core training program looks like. So to that end, we have developed a core training program. Oh, I gotta go back. That will support your municipality through the various needs that you have in terms of getting the knowledge and skills to run your community well. So we just finished a presentation with our colleagues at the Department of Municipal and Provincial Affairs where they talked about upcoming mandatory training. So it's very timely that we are launching this program. So in terms of a quick genesis of where this has all come from, and I do apologize because I was criticized this morning for not being exciting enough in my presentation. So I'm going to try to be a little bit more exciting this time, but there you just got it. That's the extent of what you're getting. But we formed an MOU with the College of the North Atlantic about 5 years ago, and that MOU has multiple purposes, but one of them was to develop training for the sector that will advance us all, make our sector more professional, and help it run more effectively. And that MOU is with the College of the North Atlantic, hence why Judy's here with me today. I'd also like to acknowledge Vice President Trudy Barnes, who is in the audience as well. And now, I'm not sure what I'm clicking here, but it keeps going to the next slide. So I'm going to lay that down for a second till I finish it. But welcome, Trudy. Thanks for being here. And of course, there are all kinds of CNA staff with us today and tomorrow. So feel free to reach out to any of them. They are an excellent partner of MNL, and by extension of that, a partner of yours. And what the college offers and has available and can do to support you it's a big list. And many of you may not know that. But also, just as important of what they can do for you is what you can do for them, which is establish the campuses that are in your community as a strong community hub. They're already excellent facilities with phenomenal instructors, but of course, we need to get more involved with them because our communities need it. So after the formation of the MOU, we did some consultation with you, our members, to determine what types of training needs that you have. You may all remember we did have a Municipal Training and Development Corp. Guys, can you bring that PowerPoint back? I don't know. I'm not touching anything and it's jumping ahead. Okay, one more. There we go. Thank you. So we did some consultation. We heard very clearly that the closure of the Municipal Training and Development Corporation was having a large impact on your towns. The availability of training was, the extensive availability of training was no longer there. Thankfully, the Department of Municipal Affairs have maintained their training, such as budget training and new councillor training and so on. But what they offer is what is within the legislation. But as we all know, there's many other things that we need to learn and know about in order to be successful in running our towns. So we did determine very quickly what it is that you want through that consultation process. We recognized that there were a lack of alternatives. There were a couple of consultants who were out doing the work. The Municipal Training and Development Corp had been shut down. The department was doing their piece. PMA was doing a small piece as well, but primarily for staff, and they do have their own core program for municipal staff. But we did recognize that there was a lack of access, a lack of alternatives, and that's why we started down this process at the 2019 conference shortly after forming our MOU with the college. We indicated that we were going to develop a program that was consistent with the information that was publicly available to us, such as the Municipal Councillor Handbook. And I'd like to commend the department for having that updated recently. Of course, with the new legislation pending, we do anticipate that there will be some additional changes to that in the future. But we've developed a program that will be nimble enough to change as those things change, and new authorities or new wording and legislation will be captured in the new program as well. Then the pandemic hit. So in 2019 we started this development, but then the pandemic hit. And of course MNL and the college and everyone were affected by the pandemic just like you. So we held off for a little while. We couldn't come together to do the strategizing and so on. It's very difficult when you have a lot of people, trying to put something together, and sometimes you just can't do everything on Zoom. And we found that this was one of those things. We needed to have more direct involvement. So now that the pandemic had quietened down a little bit after the first or the two lockdowns, we did get back to the table. We revisited the work that we had done, and we were now much further along as a result of what we've accomplished since just last spring. Guys, can we go back to that blue slide, please? There we go. So we are here today to launch the program. We're very excited about what we are about to present to you. We have three partners at the table for this, of course, MNL and CNA, as I've mentioned, but the professional municipal administrators were at the table with us too. I'd like to acknowledge the contribution of Tammy and the entire PMA board, Tammy Davis, for the work that they've contributed and the insights they've given us. And the intent is, after this program is launched, that we will move to the enhanced core training program, which will be a blend of elected knowledge and expertise for elected officials and staff combined. So right now we're launching our MNL for elected officials, but PMA has their core training for staff. And eventually our hope is to blend all of this together so that we learn together. Now I'll go to the next slide. There we go. So the blended training opportunity that I just mentioned about PMA and MNL and all of us together is not what I mean by this slide. What I mean by this slide is that we've learned very quickly through the pandemic that virtual is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And we've also recognized, though, that in-person training is essential to networking and learning from your peers. So what we've established essentially is a blended training opportunity moving forward. We will get to that as the pandemic we get further on in the pandemic. But in the meantime, we'll be utilizing the online training system. So what you see in front of you is NC 3193, which is an introduction to municipal government. This is the online course developed in partnership with all those that I mentioned earlier, and it outlines and will hopefully fulfill your responsibilities as an elected councillor, encouraging active, engaged, and successful communities. Guys, we're having some trouble with this, aren't we? I swear I'm not touching anything. So I may as well sit down because you've all seen my slides. They were self-explanatory. Any questions? But what I would like to say, though, is it's really important. You just heard recently about how good training and mandatory training will hopefully address some of the major issues in our sector. And we feel that this program will do exactly that too. So our board has been completely briefed. We've done a full run through with them, and we're quite excited by what we're offering. So you will see when you register for the course and you log in, you'll see what you see on the screen right now, which, as I said, is the introduction to municipal government. It's a very intuitive system, and Judy will get into this a little bit more, but we've captured and utilized the Municipal Councillor Handbook as the study guide, as the guide for what this training should be. So I think certainly any new councillors that are here in the room, or mayors or deputy mayors, would be very familiar with the Councillor Handbook or the Municipal Council Handbook, because it's usually part of your package that you get when you come get elected. But we've essentially taken all that content and we've created PowerPoints and quizzes and all these other things that we'll talk about in a moment. So I wanted you to see firsthand, the first glimpse of what this online system looks like. As you can see, it's on a web browser. And God only knows what windows I had open when I took that screen capture, so I should be careful not to leave that up too long. A key part of being successful with this program will be our never-ending review of what it is we're delivering. As we know, municipal government changes all the time. We know legislation changes all the time. Our roles and responsibilities may be tweaked. And this program has been developed so that we can capture those things as needed. So registration for the first iteration of the program, I'm proud to say, will, I say now open. It will go out later today. There will be an online registration process where we'll need to get some key information. The intent is that the first iteration will start in a matter of a couple of weeks. It's very good timing considering we just had our election and there's many people that will benefit from it. The cost of this training will be approximately $1,750 per person, which is consistent with similar programs right across the country. But that gets you access to 10 modules of training over 10 weeks. And the system that we're using is called Brightspace. And Judy will certainly talk about that in a little bit as well. You will find that a big portion of this is study on your own, but there are all kinds of engagement opportunities wrapped into it. And as I said, we're really excited to have a first class go through this and to provide us some feedback to see how it goes and to see if the way in which we've developed it works for the sector. One thing I brought to the table, and I think many of you are aware that I served for 12 years on council myself. I just finished my third term. I didn't run for re-election, but I feel as a councillor who had served 3 terms that I still learned a lot from this process of delving into the information and the municipal councillor handbook. I have no doubt that it will be beneficial for new, but I also really think, like myself, it'll be beneficial for those that have served many, many terms. We're always learning new things, and that's one of the best pieces of advice that anyone could give us is to never stop learning. Always want to reach out and learn more, and this program will help you with that too. So Judy, I'll call on you to come up and have a chat, and what I'm going to do, folks, is I'm going to go down to the back of the room because we're going to bring up the website. She's going to walk through a couple of pages, and I'm going to go down and control it down there, and then when we're finished, we'll come back up because we'd like to engage in a short discussion with you after Judy's piece. And I do recognize that it's 20 after 12, and we are standing between you and a luncheon, so we won't take very long for this. So Judy, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. My name is Judy Dobson, and I'm the Director of Customized and Continuous Learning. Just waiting for my presentation to come up. There we go. So Customized and Continuous Learning is within the umbrella of partnerships and innovation within College of the North Atlantic. And our department is external facing. I'm going to see now if I'm going to have the same technical difficulties as Brad. There we go. So Customized and Continuous Learning links employees and volunteers to upskilling opportunities within your job. We link students to employment and industry and community to development opportunities through training. So we use training to drive the economy, to get as many people employed and employed in better positions within their job as possible. So how we respond to that mandate is we work directly with so what we do is we create customized training when someone comes to us and requests a specific. So it can be customized by location, by duration, by modality. We also work on sector-based solutions. So an example of that would be there's an emerging industry, for example, aquaculture. We don't have a lot of aquaculture expertise currently in the province, so we work directly with the partners and figure out exactly what that training gap is and how we can create a labor pool so that we can drive the economy. We also have many off-the-shelf deliveries, so we use exactly what we have and we put them in strategic locations. Again, this audience will certainly know that sometimes a traffic control certificate can get a person meaningful employment. So we use what we have to get as many people working as possible through training. When we identify what is required, we come back in-house, we build that solution. All of our work goes through the same quality management process. It follows exactly the regular programming as the regular programs at College of the North Atlantic. So in our discussions with municipalities, Newfoundland and Labrador, we felt that the introduction to municipal government was a perfect fit for our connected learning. When we had met with Brad over a period of time, he identified what his priorities were. We wanted to have access for everybody across the province. We wanted it to be cost effective so many, many more people could avail of that opportunity. I don't have to tell this audience as well how expensive it can be to move people in and out of rural locations for training. We wanted flexibility in delivery dates and times. This is a very busy audience with homes and jobs and lives and everything else. So we wanted to present a solution that would give people the flexibility that if you're watching the Leafs game and you have a couple of hours that you wanted to do some training, you could have that, and you didn't have to be 8:30 to 4:30 at a certain location. We also knew that the students coming into this program would have a very wide range of experience levels, so we wanted to make something that would fit that audience. On top of that, we wanted to be able to change the content as your sector is growing and developing. And another key priority for us was scalability. We wanted to start with this and identify what your next priorities were so that we could address them in a very timely manner. So what we did was we used our connected learning environment. So this will be where Brad will Brad's going to go and kind of log in. So he's going to be driving. It might be a little bit tricky for us. So our connected learning, our distributed learning program is used across the college for our regular programming. We've had it for years and years. Trudy actually could probably tell me how long we've been delivering those programs. But the core, it has all the functionality within the online system that you would get within a classroom, actually more. So you can access course content, you can post your discussions, you can submit assignments, you complete online quizzes, you can email your instructors, you can email other people in the class, and you can even check your grades. So what we are going to do next, when Brad clicks on that link, he's going to bring you into the CNA webpage in just a moment. So when we go into the first page, what we're seeing on the CNA webpage is our portal into online learning. Within that, we have a very well-established connected learning environment. And I'm sorry, I expected to have a mouse here, so my apologies. So this is what you'll see when you go into our connected learning webpage at College of the North Atlantic. I'm going to ask you just to go back for a second there, Brad. Or not. So we have a very strong presence within our connected learning. So within that page and within our department, within the college, we are consistently upgrading and training our faculty on how to be strong online providers of learning. We have teaching and guidance are within the online learning faculty as well. I'm sorry, I'm a little, Brad, can you go back to the CNA webpage? Thank you. So if you look at that page, you'll see that we have a section for faculty, we have a section for students. If you click under current students, thank you, you'll see these are all the instructions and guides that you're going to need. If you click on, for example, accessing your course, the second one down, when you look at this, it gives you all the instructions that you need. So if you haven't participated in online learning before, this is step by step by step. Even if you go through the steps and you're having trouble, we have a help desk. We have student development officers that can help you out. We have guidance counselors that can help you out that are all linked to our online learning. As we go through that, you'll also see course login information and all of our support services under current students. So when you go back to, to the top, please, course login. This is the link you will use to go into the Bright Space page. Continue to log in, please. And Brad, I believe you have a login to this course. I hope. So when you become a student at CNA, you'll get a student ID, a student email, and a password, and this is the information you'll use to sign in. So when you go in through this portal, you are now on the Bright Space, you're on the main page. I hope. Within the first page, when we do enter that page, what you'll see is information that is available to all of our DL students, our online students. So there are college-wide alerts and there's college-wide information that you will see. And then you will go in and you will be able to access your specific course. Our regular students will go in and see a list of all the courses that they are doing for that semester. If you are only participating in one course at College of the North Atlantic at that time, that's the course you'll see. Or not.
Judy, we're signing in here now to the other link,
okay.
So we'll bring it up in 1 second.
Okay. So the pandemic has really given us an opportunity to really drive our online learning. We call it a silver lining of the pandemic, because it's just as well to call it a silver lining. But it really has driven the business model and really gotten us looking at what online learning can do for people, especially spread out in such a wide area that you guys are. So when you go into the Brightspace main page, as I said, you'll see all the information that you'll see across the college, as any of our college students will see, and then you will go in and select your course. Then you are actually participating in the course itself. We have a main page in that course as well. So your instructor will post information and give you news alerts around help desk, or if there's any courses and quizzes and things like that available. I'm really hoping the screen comes up because it's so easy to navigate once you're in there. Oh, we're getting cold.
Okay, almost coming up there, Judy. Here we go.
And the goal for this discussion is to really get you comfortable and have a look at how easy it is to navigate and what functionality is in there. If for some reason we don't get to that, we can certainly set this up at the booth and anyone can come along at any time and we'll be happy to walk you through it. When we talk about this training and orientation as well to that process, your instructor will start out with this. They will give you an overview of the system. There are also lots of tips and videos on our CNA page if you're not used to online learning about things that you can do to become a more successful online student, ways to set yourself up, things to watch for. So all of that guidance is there, which will be reinforced with the instructor all the way through.
Judy, unfortunately, it's given us trouble here. It's the internet connection, I believe. So what we'll do is we'll make sure that it's available over at the booth.
Yes.
And we do have an email, folks, that's going out to all councils later today that has a number of screenshots. And we'd be more than happy to work with your council to give you a briefing on the entire program and how it looks. Okay.
My apologies, everyone. I really wanted to show it to you. It is very easy to navigate, and there are tons and tons of support. So please stop by our booth. We can have this set up for you, and you can have a look at it. Thank you for your time.
Eh? Yeah, I know. I'm just writing it down after Judy, so. Just trying to do you before we go in the next one.
Excellent. Thanks, Judy. Guys, I'm really sorry about the technological piece. We had it working a few minutes ago, but then it just jumped out on us. It's not bad, though, because it is 12:30, so we're not going to keep you any longer. But I will say this, it's a very well-priced program, really great content. We have 10 modules that you'll be learning, and I'll just read out what those are for those of you that are not may not recall the Municipal Councillor Handbook. But the 10 modules include municipal government in Newfoundland and Labrador, which is a brief background and history. We have section 2, the second module, councillor and council roles and responsibilities. We'll be doing roles and responsibilities of staff and human resources. That's the third section. The fourth section being council and the conduct of business. Section 5 is council as a policymaker, regulator, and planner, which is a really important section. We have Module 6 is Council Budgeting and Financial Administration, which is some really timely stuff for this period of the year. Section 7 is Council Communications and Citizen and Stakeholder Engagement. Module 8 is Council and Good Governance. Module 9, Municipal Project Financing and Other Council Resources. And last but not least, Section 10, My Council, which allows councils to build on their own council-specific content. So it's a really, really great program, lots of great content. $1,750 for roughly 10 weeks of training is very, very affordable. We are working through the Department of Municipal and Provincial Affairs to ensure that this qualifies for the Municipal Training Fund. And of course, we will also start piggybacking off of other MNL events, such as this like this conference, our upcoming symposium in the spring, and next conference. And we'll hold training modules around those events so that you can maximize your time. You can also, if you choose, you can do one module. You don't have to do the entire course. The modules can be made available individually. And in addition to that, we are working on one additional module, and you'll hear about this a little bit later in the weekend from Neil Daw and Track Consulting, but there will be an enhanced module on asset management. So we have a program with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities that's going to support the development of that module in particular. So unfortunately, we have run out of time, but what I'd like throughout the weekend, and Judy and the CNA crowd will be around from time to time as well, we need to hear from you what additional training you want. We will end up doing another survey eventually and so on, but we really want to get your insight on what types of training are you lacking within your community? What types of information would you like to have as you advance on one thing or the other? And we've very clearly seen how CNA can come up with a very customized approach to getting that knowledge into our hands. And of course, because they're such a great partner, we should utilize them as best as possible. And of course, Judy's entire operation can put together customized learning plans and customized programs for whatever our needs might be. So please fill us in on what you'd like to see. If there's a gap in the training in your region, we'd be very interested in hearing about that and trying to come up with a plan to address it with you. Most importantly, we really encourage you to register for the first iteration of this MNL CORE Training program and to be the first graduating class in a matter of 10 weeks, starting in a couple of weeks. And if you have any inquiries or want to learn more, you can certainly reach out to myself. I'm here all weekend. I think Roger would probably panic if I didn't stick around with him all weekend, eh, Roger? But, and of course, feel free to come up and talk to Judy, but there's also an army of individuals at the CNA booth out in the trade show who would be more than happy to answer your questions and talk through it. So I'll like to thank you all for the time.